Welcome to the Bulldog Blitz. I'm Austin Monteith.
And I'm Kyle Beery.
With all fall sports officially over, basketball season is in full swing. Kyle has a report on the men's team's recent wins and upcoming rivalry game.
The Butler men's basketball team is gearing up for an in-state rivalry Saturday against Purdue in the Crossroads Classic at Bankers Life Fieldhouse. Butler is coming off 2 straight wins against North Dakota on Saturday and Manchester on Monday. It was sophomore Kellen Dunham leading the way Saturday with 29 points, making 5 3-pointers. One of those was a desperation buzzer beater to end the first half. The Dogs beat the Fighting Sioux 79-64. On Monday, the Bulldogs scored triple digits in a regular season game for the first time since 2001 as they beat Manchester 100-41. Head coach Brandon Miller took advantage of the rout and got his bench players a lot of playing time. Freshman Rene Castro led bench scoring with 12 points. Miller said it was a good measuring stick to see his reserves play.
Yeah, it was good to see a lot of different guys play. We had 11 guys play more than 10 minutes tonight. Saw a lot of different combinations in terms of guys playing together. And when you can do that, when the lights are on and the officials are blowing whistles, it's a little bit different than practice. So it's good to see those guys in a different way.
The Bulldogs have won 2 straight at the Crossroads Classic, beating the Boilers 2 years ago and knocking off top-ranked Indiana last year in overtime. Miller says it's a great tradition and they're looking forward to a challenge with Purdue.
And to have the 4 teams that you have in the Classic that are able to play in that event, you have it in Indianapolis where fans can get to. You have it in Bankers Life, where it's a terrific place to play basketball. And again, something that we hope that continues, for a long, long time. It's good for our program, and again, we're looking forward to Saturday and playing it.
The Bulldogs will be going for their 3rd straight win at the Crossroads Classic on Saturday. Tip-off will be after the IU Notre Dame game, which starts at 3 o'clock on Saturday. For the Bulldog Blitz, I'm Kyle Beery.
The men's team's 59-point win against Manchester on Monday was the largest margin of victory for Butler since 1921. It was the second time the team has scored 100 points this year, the first being in an exhibition win over Nova Southeastern.
The women's basketball team was also in action on Saturday, facing off against a former Horizon League opponent. Ari Castle has the story.
The Butler women's basketball team suffered a tough 62-57 loss on Saturday against UIC.
Yeah, you got to give UIC all the credit. They came in and they've won 5 straight, and they wanted to beat us. We went up there last year and really had our way with them, and they came in ready and really pounded it in. And I felt like for us, we just weren't focused.
Early in the game, the Dogs were down by as many as 10 points, but climbed back to only a 1-point deficit at halftime. Despite plenty of chances, the Dogs were unable to come back and win the game.
Try to figure it out. I do think it hurt our shooting. We missed so many shots, whether they were chippies, whether they were wide open threes. They gave us wide open threes. Sometimes I can't remember the kids even catching it and getting set, but we're going to have to knock those down, or people are going to play zone because they really struggle guarding our sets.
Darius McClung led the Bulldogs in scoring with 23 points and 12 rebounds. Mandy McDivitt played all 40 minutes, scoring 10 points. No other Bulldog was in double figures. To win games, Coach Kuchar said the team needs to improve their focus.
At the end of the day, we have to come in focused and ready. We have to realize that every team coming in here wants to beat us, and we are playing good teams, and you can't take any time off, and we really have to work on that.
For the Bulldog Blitz, I'm Ari Castle.
The women's basketball team will face Northern Kentucky on Sunday. Then the team will travel to Indiana State next weekend before beginning Big East Conference play. The Butler volleyball team is training for next season after being left out of the field for the NCAA Women's Volleyball Tournament. Austin has more on the story.
Butler's volleyball program is coming off its most successful season in head coach Sharon Clark's 14-year tenure. The Bulldogs went 24-8 and finished 4th in their first season in the Big East, with a conference record of 11-5.
I think we surpassed other people's expectations of us, but we had a goal to be at the top, and did we do that? Yeah. So I think we did what we wanted to do, and some of the things we wanted to accomplish.
But one goal the team set for itself was not met after Butler lost to Marquette in the Big East Tournament semifinals, an at-large bid to the NCAA tournament.
It's still a little bitter, just thinking we should have been there. On paper, we did everything that would have put us in a position to make it to the tournament. So yes, I think that we should have gotten a bid into the tournament.
Junior Brooke Ruffalo says picking up quality wins against Xavier and eventual Big East Tournament champion Marquette could have helped the team earn a bid.
Regardless, I think that we should have had a couple of clutch wins. We should have beaten Marquette. We should have beaten Xavier when we met them again. But I think that we did enough this season to have made it to the NCAA tournament.
The NCAA tournament remains the ultimate target for Butler going into next season. Ruffalo says she thinks the team can improve further in Big East play next year.
I would like to think that we could have an undefeated season in conference, and I think that's something that we could definitely work towards starting now and in the spring, and all of us are ready to go.
The volleyball team will return 14 players from this year's team next year. For the Bulldog Blitz, I'm Austin Monteith. Butler men's soccer junior defender Brandon Fricke is the third Bulldog athlete to earn academic All-America honors this year. The 3-year starter and team captain, majoring in economics and mechanical engineering, says his honor resembles the team's efforts on and off the field.
Our work ethic and our high standards, both on the field and off the field in the classroom, we strive for our best in both areas, and I think this honor is a show for the whole team's efforts.
Fricke started all 20 matches for the Bulldogs. He finished tied for 6th on the squad in scoring with 3 goals, including the game winner in Butler's victory over Xavier in the regular season.
The Butler football season is over, but for one of the Bulldogs, the NFL may be in his future. Matt Schumacher has the story.
While his Butler career may have come to an end last month, senior defensive lineman Jeremy Stevens is far from hanging up the pads. His success over the past 2 seasons has earned him interest from numerous Canadian Football League teams and several NFL squads, including the Houston Texans. Stevens is enjoying the process, but knows he must remain patient.
It's awesome. Like you said, it's every kid's dream. It's been my dream for the longest. I have a great support system at home with my parents that keep me grounded. I try not to get too high or too low. Obviously, everything's not always going to be great in this process. Some scouts are going to like you, some scouts aren't. At the end of the day, you just need one team to like you.
Butler defensive line coach Jerome Rios has coached NFL prospects in the past and says that Stevens' abilities translate well to the next level.
I think his chances in terms of playing at the NFL at the highest level are high because he has the ability to rush the quarterback. The NFL is driven around rushing the quarterback.
Regardless of what league he ends up playing in, Stevens just has one goal in mind.
Whether it's the NFL, whether it's the CFL, I just want to know one day that I received a check to Jeremy Stevens from a pro team. So that's definitely my end goal.
Stevens will start training next week for his pro day, which is set to take place in March at Ball State. Reporting for the Bulldog Blitz, I'm Matt Schumacher.
Thank you for joining us on this week's Bulldog Blitz. I'm Kyle Beery.
And I'm Austin Monteith. You stay classy, Butler University.
This is the Bulldog Blitz scoreboard. I'm Courtney West. This Friday, the Butler women's basketball team will travel to Valparaiso University. The game will tip off just after 8 that night. The Bulldogs will return home against Northern Kentucky on Sunday at 2 p.m. The men's basketball team will appear once again in the Crossroads Classic. It will be Butler's 3rd Crossroads appearance as they face Purdue in a 6 p.m. game at Bankers Life Fieldhouse in Indianapolis. Everyone remembers last year's game when Butler topped IU, who was the #1 team in the nation. The game between the Boilers and the Bulldogs will be aired on the Big Ten Network. The track and field team will continue its indoor season this Saturday and Sunday, competing in the Hoosier Open at Indiana University. For the Bulldog Blitz, I'm Courtney West.
There may not be large hills or a constant abundance of snow close to Butler University, but that has not stopped a ski and snowboard club from forming on campus. Hi, I'm Colin Likas, and today I'm joined on the Bulldog Blitz by the president of Butler's Ski and Snowboard Club, sophomore Andrew Gudek. Thank you for joining me today, Andrew, on the show. Appreciate it.
It's my pleasure, Colin.
Great. And before we even talk about the club that is formed on campus, let's just talk a little bit about skiing and snowboarding, just the general basics for viewers who maybe aren't familiar with the sports. So can you kind of give us a little background on the basics of the two sports and kind of what you need to know and what you need to have or own or rent in order to participate?
Well, Colin, it's nothing too difficult. It's for snowboarding, you just got to have boots, bindings, which are attached to the board, and the board itself. And skiing, the same boots, the bindings that are attached to the skis, and the skis themselves. And really, just learning how to ski or snowboard is just getting on the board or getting on the skis and just getting on the mountain and falling down a lot at first, but eventually learning how to go down correctly.
Sure. And so which of the two sports do you prefer, and how did you get interested in whichever one of those that is?
I've never been skiing. I started snowboarding when I was a sophomore in high school. Okay. My brother and his friends just decided that they were going to go try it one day, and I decided that I was going to go with them. And we all kind of fell in love with it. And so we would just take trips up into Wisconsin to the various hills there and have one-day snowboard trips.
Sure. Now, what do you think are some of the most enjoyable aspects of skiing and snowboarding for other people when you're in groups? And what are maybe some of the most enjoyable aspects for you that have kept you interested in it this long?
I mean, the camaraderie is really fun, just getting with the group of guys, riding up the lift, and the car rides are always really fun to the mountain. And just when you're on the mountain, the adrenaline rush, when you're just going really fast is what keeps me interested.
Sure. Can you kind of go into depth a little more about that adrenaline rush, that you kind of talked about? Just kind of for those that maybe haven't skied or snowboarded before, kind of talk about the feeling you get when you're going down a hill, going down the slopes, things like that.
Yeah, well, I'm a big action sports kind of guy, and I've always kind of craved that adrenaline rush. And so when you get on the hill and you first start going down, you just pick up more and more speed. And eventually, it just kind of hits you how fast you're going. And you get a little nervous at times that you might fall or take a nasty spill. But that's definitely what keeps things the most interesting. Yeah. Is that danger.
Sure. Now, getting back to the club at Butler, it celebrated its 1-year anniversary in October. You're a founding member of it. Now you're the president of it. Can you kind of talk about how the club came to be, how you came up with the idea, and how you went about working to make this an actual club on campus?
Yeah, so last year when I came to campus as a freshman, I was looking around Block Party for that ski club because I absolutely loved it in high school. And I couldn't find it, and I was like, oh, maybe they weren't there. And then I went to the Pulse office, and I found out that there actually was not a club on campus. So myself and some of my buddies, Danny Lapkeys, Dylan Cozad, and Jesse Warner, we decided to look a little more into it. And I was looking online, SGA's website, and they just showed the guidelines on how to start an organization on campus. Went from there, went back to the Pulse office, talked a little bit more about forming a constitution, and after that, formed a little presentation for the SGA exec board, and here we are today.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more about that last part? Why do you think SGA decided to kind of approve the club, I suppose? What do you think, what good do you think they saw in it that allowed it to become what it is today?
I mean, pretty much, in my opinion, I believe that a lot of colleges have a ski and snowboard club. It's a pretty pretty familiar activity practiced throughout the country, even in states that aren't either out west or out east. But I think that skiing and snowboarding is just a good, clean activity for students to get involved in on the weekends.
Sure. Now, you talked about a couple of your friends that kind of were interested in doing this club with you. What has the interest level kind of been since it's become an official club, and how have you gotten to draw some people into the club as time has gone on?
I mean, there were certain individuals that really show that passion, like myself, for the sports of skiing and snowboarding. It has been a little bit difficult at times recruiting people to come out because we are in Indiana, and
Sure.
there's not a whole lot of mountains in Indiana. But overall, we've had a decent amount of interest, and the club has grown a lot since last year.
Mm-hmm. Now, can you kind of talk about some of the goals of the club? What are some things you guys are trying to do? Like you said, there's not a lot of mountains in Indiana. Snow is kind of hit or miss in the States. So kind of talk about some of the things you guys are doing right now.
Yeah, so last year we kind of started out small, took a couple day trips to Perfect North, a hill about an hour and a half away near Cincinnati. And then this year we're taking it a step further, and we have an overnight trip, Martin Luther King Jr. weekend next semester, and that's going to be 3 nights and 2 or 3 days of skiing. So we wanted to step up the level of trip this year, and moving forward in the future, I'd like to go even further and take the club out west, somewhere in Colorado or Utah.
Yeah. Now, what do you think would be the impact of going out there? Why do you think it would be a good trip to go out there? And maybe what are some of the barriers to getting out to Colorado or Utah?
The barriers are definitely capital. Being at Butler, we can only get a certain amount of money from student government, which we appreciate a lot. But I think that if we could get a trip out to Colorado or Utah, it would really show how legitimate the club is. And I think that everybody would have a lot of fun if we could get out there.
Yeah. Now, as far as members go, I've seen that you don't have to be a hardcore skier or snowboarder to necessarily join the club. So this is a two-part question, I suppose. What kind of interest have you gotten from both sides of the coin, from the hardcore skiers and snowboarders, and then from maybe newer people to the sport? And how do you keep those newer people interested? How do you draw them in and make them see that they don't need to worry about being new to the sport?
Well, we've obviously had those that have shown a lot of interest. They come out to all the meetings. They sign up for all the trips. But as far as getting people involved that haven't maybe ski or snowboarded that often, we'd like to have a day, possibly next semester, where we can have the more experienced members in the club take some time out of their day on the slopes to teach those that are willing to try the sport of skiing or snowboarding.
Yeah, sure. So as far as that goes, are there any plans in the works to maybe, I don't know, put together some sort of a class, something like that for the new riders, the new boarders, just to kind of help them along the way? Is that something that is in the budget, I suppose?
Yeah, it's definitely been an idea that's been thrown out there. I think that it's something that we'd like to work for in the future.
Mm-hmm, sure. So why do you think the ski and snowboard club is a unique club on campus? Why do you think it's maybe different from other SGA-supported clubs on campus, specifically sports-related ones?
I think that the difference is kind of the trip aspect, that it takes a little bit more time and money to put something like that together, and sadly it's not something that you can do every day. But again, I think that it's a lot of fun, and a lot of people would like to get more involved with it.
Yeah. Now, why would you recommend that students join the club, and how can they go about getting involved in it if they want to get involved?
I mean, I would definitely recommend that they get involved in the club. If they've ever skied or snowboarded before, I would guarantee that they absolutely loved it. And as far as getting involved with the club, all we ask is the purchase of our ski club gear. And I believe that this year that we're going to be selling ski club sweatshirts. So we sort of run it like Dog Pound, where you buy the club gear, and that is technically your dues for the year.
Okay, gotcha. And last question here, just what's your favorite place that you've been so far, whether it's with the club or just on a trip with friends? Where's been your favorite place to snowboard so far in your snowboarding career, per se?
Yeah, I actually have never been out to Colorado, Utah myself.
Okay.
I have a trip planned with my brother to Keystone, Colorado. Right. But last year I went out with my family and we went to the Snowball in Flagstaff, Arizona. And that was a pretty good-sized mountain, and I had a lot of fun there.
Great. Well, Andrew, that's all the time that we have for today. Thank you again so much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me, Colin.
Absolutely. For the Bulldog Blitz, I'm Colin Likas.